First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. We're live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. If you are watching us live, there's a look at our Shriners camera there of Mount Hood and pretty clear skies, as you're noticing right there, which could mean that possibly in the near future, we could see maybe some northern lights over there. We're going to be talking about that. Again, we are live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. We're here every weekday. We start at 1 p.m. We go throughout the afternoon. So depending on what platform you're watching on, we're either live or after the fact. Either way, thanks for joining us. But yeah, a severe G4 geomagnetic storm slated to hit North America, the Northern Hemisphere. We're going to find out more about this right now because joining us, we have Jim Todd from OMSI here to talk about this. And Jim, always great to have you here on the show to talk about these kinds of events and what they mean for us here in the Northwest. And I think to start off, could you give everybody maybe a definition of what a G4 magnetic storm actually is?
Well, that means it's a certain level storm that went out at scale 1 to 4. And 4 is the largest storm possible from the sun. And so starting off, there was a very large flare on January 18th. And it was a very large X flare. X flares mean X-ray. And this was a long duration flare, now becoming what's called a G4 flare. And it takes about 2 to 3 days for that particular flare to reach the Earth. The X-ray flare on the 18th can only take a few seconds, and that caused what's called media blackout, radio blackout. But it's not a visible aurora. Now we get the particles that are leaving the sun. It's going to impact the Earth starting tonight and tomorrow night. And so it's a G4. And that means that's a severe storm, that it could impact basically globally. And we have an opportunity tonight to see what we call the Northern Lights. The good news is we have two things in our favor. One, the weather forecast looks great for tonight and tomorrow night. That doesn't happen very often in the month of January. And the second part is that we have a new moon. The new moon is happening yesterday and basically today will give us the darkest possible sky. And so with those two combinations, it's the right setup to where we can possibly see the Northern Lights starting tonight.
Wow, amazing. So a couple of questions there. You mentioned, so the night of the 19th and into the 20th, so could it be both days? How long would this storm actually last to where this possibility could happen?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's going to all really depend on the intensity of the storm and how big it is. This is a long duration storm, so that means it could be both nights. Now, the peak can also be during our broad daylight, where on the other side of the Earth, they're having their show. So timing is everything, and the intensity is everything. So this forecast can change rapidly in a few hours. So it's really important to go check on these websites that you talk about when the impact's going to occur, if it's still strong enough. It's just kind of like a weather forecast. We have rain coming, and we're going to expect 1 to 2 inches of rain. And then later on, it wasn't that big. So it's all a matter of location and what have you. But clearly, every indication is good for a really great show that's happening. And fortunately, we have clear skies.
You mentioned part of the X-rays that came through first can cause, what's called media blackout and affect some of those things. I would imagine like radio, GPS, that kind of stuff. Is there anything concern when it comes to this storm now at this point coming through as a G4 that it could affect some things like that, radio or GPS?
There's always concern whenever there is a flare, and that's why we're monitoring the sun as we are. And so we can see that by the prediction that we can prepare for these kind of flares and the impact. Now, generally with the particles, coronal mass ejection, the particles are going to interact with the Earth's magnetic field, and they're going to funnel down to the north and to the south, and that's what creates the beautiful Northern Lights, because as soon as it gets to about 60 to 80 miles above the Earth, the polarity of the north and south is so small, it makes an arc. And that's what charges the particles in the atmosphere, that nitrogen and oxygen. That's what creates the color, because that arc is creating the color of the northern lights. And so does it impact anything else in communication and what have you? Hopefully not. Not always. But the X-rays are more damaging than the coronal mass ejection. Those are the particles. So for the most part, they're pretty harmless, but you never know. Sometimes the intensity can make some severe damage to the communication satellites, or even on the International Space Station, they have to be aware of the radiation. It depends on the strength and the direction of the storm.
And those are things that we can't really know until it's already here.
Exactly, and we'll watch what happens. It's just like when it rains, well, it could cause flood, or maybe it's just, a nice rainstorm that we're looking at.
And all that could depend. And so for people who want to view this, what's the best way for people to view this event? Should everything work right and it hits here just perfectly?
Yeah. Ideally, you want to watch the northern lights around 10 p.m. That's the darkest part of the sky. That meaning that the Earth's shadow is directly above you. There might be a chance right after sunset. That's pretty rare, but there's a lot of twilight. And so that could interfere with the brightness of the auroras. But go out there around 10 p.m. Ideally, you want to be away from city light as much as possible. Go to west of Portland, east of Portland, or wherever dark location you can safely park and look towards the north. Even though the KPNW is going to be about 7 is just kind of skimming the mid-latitude, meaning barely Oregon, but you want to look towards the north. Now, if it's 7, that means it could be fairly faint. And to the human eye, you really can't pick up on the colors. But if you have the fancy camera or a smartphone and do a long exposure for 3 to 5 seconds and play around with it, do your homework before you go out and point it towards the north. You'd be surprised, all of a sudden the color appears in your picture. You're looking at the northern lights. Okay? And if it's really strong, like a KP index of 8 or higher, then you might be able to see it with your human eye as long as you're away from the city. To our advantage, we have the new moon. So that's going to give us the darkest possible skies, be able to view the northern lights. And all of those could be a factor. Now, some people will say, hey, Jim, I went out and looked at the northern lights. I couldn't see anything. Well, our human eyes are just not able to see it from the city. Or if you get away from the city, you just have to be prepared to know how to look for the northern lights. If it is 8, it could go all the way down to southern Oregon and California, Arizona. That doesn't mean it's going to be a sky full of northern lights. It's just a strong possibility. Some northern lights can last just for a few minutes, and some can last for hours. We just don't know. We just have to watch, keep your eyes open, and enjoy, and mostly stay warm.
All right, and this could last even a couple of days.
It could. And so ideally, just want to be out there around midnight, enjoy it for a few hours. You might see a burst here and there, and then try it again the next night.
So like between 10 p.m. and midnight?
10 p.m. to about 2 a.m., roughly.
All right. So some chances though. So that's going to be exciting to see that. Anything else that you think is important for people to know about this?
Well, there's a lot of things that's another thing about what we're seeing as the flares. The sun is coming out of cycle 25, it's heading toward cycle 26, meaning that it passed the peak. And it's now kind of descending a little bit. It's actually dropping as far as the number of sunspots. This is not the only opportunity that we're going to have for the northern light. There may be more. It's just a sign that the sun is very active. And so that means that we could have some more possibility of the northern lights for the rest of this winter and spring when it's at its darkest. But also at the same time, we're at probably the worst time of year when we have usually rain and clouds, and it interferes our viewing for the northern lights. So it's not only just Oregon, but anybody that's up in Alaska, Canada, they're going to have a real show tonight and tomorrow night. But in the northern United States, if you have friends and family, let them know about this. They'd be super excited. They may have clearer skies than we do.
Wow, exciting. So I think a lot of people are going to be out there looking for this evening, looking to see that. But Jim, thank you as always for joining us just to talk about it and walk through everything and giving people advice on what to do and just knowledge about what's happening. It's exciting.
Okay. It's exciting, and good luck.
All right, thanks, Jim. And for everybody watching too, this is Fox 12 Now. As I mentioned, we live stream here out of the newsroom. So if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're finding us, you'll see this video end. We'll continue on though on the apps. So thanks for being there. Download those apps for whatever platform you are on. There's a Fox 12 Oregon app, and we are live streaming here throughout the afternoon. So thanks for being here. I'll talk to you soon.